Yo, it's Cass and Chris. We got you in the mix. Yeah. We say goodbye to the gloominess and the rain. Bright-eyed pupils when we peep the waves. Until we get sipping our local IPA. Welcome to the city built for leisure and play.
Because we're living. Welcome back. Another edition of the Livin in San Diego podcast. We got a guest on. We're going to get here in a sec. But Cassie, what episode are we at?
I have
Fill us in.
280 something?
280 something. There we go.
There we go.
But all about living in San Diego. We have a few different, we do either, what we're up to, what we're going, what we're around town, new to do and to do. This week we have a guest on, going to get into his new project. And it seems like everybody we bring on, this is the Livin in San Diego podcast, but everybody we bring on is a New York fan. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had another Mets fan. You're a Giants fan, so
Eagles,
nobody.
But Eagles.
Oh,
so
yeah, he was an Eagles fan. Okay.
No,
That's not you.
No.
Boo Eagles. But yeah, we're going to get into it today. Livin in San Diego podcast. If this is your first time here, I'm Chris Erickson. We got Cassidy Lewis over on the ones and twos, and we talk about all about living in San Diego. Unofficially sponsored by, yes, it's a podcast, Livin in San Diego. We also have a real estate crew, so if you guys need anything on there, hit us up. Hey, at Livin in San Diego. But let's rock and roll. So we got Jeff Lerner on today. He is not from San Diego. We're going to get into his origin story. He's got a great new project coming up that we're going to get into. It has to do with baseball, has to do with a bunch of old players and actually talking with kids and kind of giving them messages that we're telling them every day. We all have kids in sports, but the message doesn't always get across. So he's trying to figure a way around that. Youth sports are huge. They're getting bigger. Mm-hmm. And so I think when we were growing up, it was all rec sports. They didn't have it like they have it today where it's competitive everything. Your boys are doing 3 sports. Your guys, how many sports you got going on?
Both kids, one of them, at least 2
Yeah.
at any given moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's always something.
Yep.
Yeah. So everybody's staying busy. Put that a little bit closer to you. There we go.
Right
Nice.
in your face.
Yeah.
In my face.
I want to be in your face. But Jeff, let's start out. So welcome to the show. A little bit backstory. Obviously, I'm assuming from New York, rocking the Knicks jersey.
Yep.
Have playoffs started? I'm not playoffs. Have the finals started yet?
The finals start tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we were talking a little bit before the show. What are the chances? You gave it sound like a little bit less than 50-50, but you're a fan, so you got to tell me.
The Knicks have never won a championship in my lifetime. So, right off the bat, I'm hesitant to even think that they have a chance, right? Also the skeptical New Yorker in me. I don't think any of my teams ever have a chance to do anything.
Yeah.
So realistically, I think it's close to a 50-50 toss up at this point. Mm-hmm. But the jaded New Yorker in me says, maybe it's a little 60-40 in favor of the Spurs. We'll see.
Okay. All right. I'll be a Knicks fan for this. Don't watch basketball too much, but back in the day, I was a Sacramento Kings fan. A lot of the kids I was going to college with were all Kings fans, and it was the day of Mike Bibby and Peja and all those kids. And then it was a good team, Yeah, Rick Adelman was the coach for a long time.
Just passed away yesterday.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, rest in peace, man. Yeah, he was our boy.
Way to bring us down.
I know. Sorry. It was funny you're talking about that team. That team was really fun to watch because we were up in Chelsea was going to Davis at the time.
Okay.
So we watched a lot of Kings games too.
Yeah, that reminds me, Mom, I know you're listening, but she always when she's talking to my brother or whatever, hey, do you remember so-and-so? He's like, oh yeah, what, high school? Yeah, he died. Just the same thing.
I get this, very similar conversations with my mother.
Yeah.
Or it's, do you know who I ran into? And I'm like, who? And she gives me a name and I'm like, I have no idea who that is. I'm like, that's great that you ran into that person, but I'm not sure who
I got nothing on that. Yeah. All right, so let's go back. Origin story, San Diego. How'd you make your way out here? Well, going back to, from New York, where in New York, obviously Knicks fan, I'm assuming Mets. I think I was watching some of your YouTube videos. You had the Mets, and then would you have Giants in the back?
Giants as well, yeah.
Because I got a question for that coming up. But give us the rundown, little origin story. How'd you make your way out here?
Yeah, so, born and raised in New York, basically lived there my entire life other than my 4 years in school, which I was down in D.C., Love everything about New York. I mean, it's just such, an incredible place, to live, especially when you're, in your early 20s, you're single, you're living in Manhattan, you have a good job, like life is good. Fast forward, multiple years, I meet my wife and she's originally from Maine, had lived in San Diego after college because her roommate from college was from here. So she had lived here for a while, had moved to LA for work, then LA to New York. We met in New York, and it was kind of probably our third, fourth date. And she was like, hey, just FYI, if you want to date me, you just need to understand, I want to move back to San Diego at some point. And I was like, this girl just moved to New York. I will convince her that New York is the place to be. Yeah. And, that worked really well until Hurricane Sandy. And we were living on Long Island, which is where I'm from, commuting into Manhattan every day. And it got to the point where we were literally standing on a commuter train, packed like sardines, doing this back and forth every single day. And I'm like, this is not living at all. This is awful. And we would come out to San Diego, visit. She had a lot of friends that lived here. They're all transplants, most of them from Boston, New England area. So I don't think, anybody that I knew when we first came out here was originally from San Diego.
There's a lot of transplants out here, by the way. Yeah, there's very few OGs.
So we would come out here, and then I remember, one of the visits we came out here. It was it was either October or November, and we went to our friend's house. They had just bought a house in Encinitas, and we're staying with them. And it's a Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, and we go outside in the backyard. It's probably November to watch football. And we're just sitting outside in November watching football at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. And so, that was pre-Hurricane Sandy. But then after Hurricane Sandy kind of came through, I remember I sent my wife a message, online while we were both at work. And I was like, hey, we need to talk later. And of course, she's all in panic of oh no, what did he do? What did
Need some context here.
And so we get home that night, and I was like, yeah, no, I think I'm ready to think about a move. I'm like, but obviously I got to find a job and all those things. And so I reached out to a woman who I had worked with before, who had just taken a job as the head of strategy and e-commerce at Cricket Wireless. I knew nothing about Cricket; it didn't exist on the East Coast. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about a move, whatever it is. And she was like, oh, I will hire you tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, all right. And so
that's rad.
It literally was and I prepped my parents and everybody. I was like, hey, we're going to think about moving. It's probably going to take 6 months or a year, whatever it is to do
2
this.
days.
And literally it was 2 weeks later. I'm like, hey, I got a job. So I'm moving in 3 weeks. And so this was 2013. And so we've been out here ever since. And I honestly, there are things about New York that I definitely miss.
Like what?
Chinese food.
Okay.
So food for sure.
Yeah.
Some of there's in general, especially living in Manhattan, everything's open 24 hours.
Yeah,
and,
a little sleepier out here in North County.
Yeah, but I'm so much happier out here. My kids are outside playing 360 days out of the year. I think I now own 2 pairs of pants, which,
Same here. Same here.
Right. When people are like, oh, you got to get dressed up for something. And I'm like, San Diego dressed up or dressed up. And so it's a different lifestyle. And it took some getting used to for sure. But man, so much happier. Love it. Have absolutely no desire to move back.
Back to the food. So my wife's from Jersey. So she,
I won't hold that against her.
she went there, went to kind of similar story, went to college at Michigan, made her way out here because her roommate was out here. And anyways, she's, the biggest food difference was pizza and bagels, right? She's very particular about that. Growing up here in San Diego, we were like, let's go to Upper Crust. We're going to Round Table. We're going, dude, that's California pizza, not California Pizza Kitchen. That's not pizza, but just our Manhattan. I remember one of my birthdays, I wanted folks what food do you want? I want a giant pizza. So we went to Manhattan Giant Pizza. It was probably nothing like it was just a big doughy pizza, right? So anyway, she's like, I throw out some of the places I want to eat and this and that, and she's always like, no, I don't know. She's got her favorites around town, but what's I mean, I'm sure you found places here, but is there that big of a difference for? I call her a pizza snob, but I guess it's just like pizza eater.
Yeah, no, and I'm a pizza snob. Like,
Okay.
and I get like I have very strong opinions about like pineapple on pizza. Like, to me,
Yes or no?
No, no. Like to me,
See, I'm okay with it.
pizza is a savory thing. Like your pepperoni, your meats, whatever it is. Like it, to add a sweetness, to put a fruit on it. Like, so why stop at pineapple? Like it's very arbitrary in a lot of ways, right? Like, are you going to eat like a kiwi pizza? Like. Probably not.
I mean, maybe somebody might make that one.
Maybe.
Now. People are like, ding.
I will say this: we just finished a family trip. We went to Europe over spring break, and when we were in, pretty sure it was Brussels, all through the train stations or whatever it is were ads for Pizza Hut, where they had a shrimp curry pizza.
Oh, gross.
And like, see, again, as somebody who loves pizza. And has opinions about pineapple, seeing a shrimp curry pizza, I have never been so turned off in my entire life.
See, I get it. Draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going after pineapple, though. I'm bringing
That's
my line
fair.
up to pineapple.
That's fair. And look, everyone's got their thing, right? Like I love, like a barbecue chicken pizza, and there are some people who are like, no, you can't put like chicken and that's not a thing. So look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Mine's just right. That's,
I get it. Yeah.
Is it in the water? Because I mean that's what everybody always says, right?
I mean, the water I think is more
bagels.
of the bagels.
Yeah.
And as a Long Island Jew, like, I grew up where bagels were, part of the culture of every event, holiday gathering, whatever it is. The bagels out here do not compare. But
And
there
same,
there is a larger gap in the bagel to bagel ratio than there is in the pizza.
Okay.
Because I also think like there are different styles of pizza that are really, really good. So I used to be a flippin' guy.
Yeah.
And that was always like our go-to. And it's still, good pizza, no issues there. But of late, like I'm really digging corner pizza.
Oh yeah.
That's
Dude,
so good.
we just brought that up last week. I went there.
I had it for
Solid.
dinner last night.
Yeah.
And they have a what they call their dirty crust, which
I never
is
had
where
that.
they put everything bagel seasoning on the
okay.
crust.
Ooh.
And that is delicious.
Game changer.
Yeah. So big corner pizza guy.
Yeah,
Rad.
I like that place too. Yeah, bagels as well. Same thing. Dude, I don't even know. Like my wife's Jewish as well, so she grew up in that, and then brought me bagels and showed me you could actually freeze a bagel. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Pizza too. Usually we do the leftover pizza. You throw it in the fridge, you eat it the next day, right? She's like, no, we could boil, save it for another day, throw it, make it like actual pizza. But our bagels were whatever you get from Vaughn's.
Yeah.
That was my bagel. Maybe like that's the extent of I never went out to get a bagel as a kid, right? Her birthday is tomorrow. I did get her Gold Belly. You could order food, but I got her some, I think, Essa bagels somewhere out in New York. So I'm going to see if they pass the test. We'll find out soon. They're coming today. So they should, we haven't had real, we got Inglorious bagels. You got a few other little spots that she's okay with out here, but we'll see if these,
Garden State bagel.
Garden State. Yeah,
Garden
that's
State.
a good spot.
That's the
too.
closest, that I've had.
Okay.
For sure.
So Long Island, where's the accent?
I've worked really hard to get rid of that because and it's really funny because like now when I talk to people from growing up and whether it's my family or friends and I sit there and like I hear it and I'm like, man, is that what we sound like? I'm like, that is just like, like it gives me that cringe
Yeah.
because it's, not that I'm not proud of where I grew up or whatever it is, but it's just so stereotypical, like, like the whiny Long Island, overbearing Jewish mother, like that all is very, very true.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't need that following me, my whole life and, whatever it is.
Are there words though that where the New York comes out in you?
Yeah, it does for
Okay.
sure. Yeah. There are definitely moments and times where someone's like, oh, you said that weird or that's, But then when you're married to someone from Maine who grew up in a small, very small town, like one traffic light, I always joke and tease her, like the head of the the fire chief was also the school teacher,
Oh, yeah.
also the postal worker.
Yeah,
Their idea of pizza was like at the gas station, like, kind of pizza. But when she says things like, when the first time, early in our dating and we, having breakfast, and she was like, "Oh, can you pass the syrup?" I'm like, "The what?"
I don't think we have that.
And she was like, "Syrup," and she's like, "Syrup." I'm like, SURP, and she's like, "No, the." I'm like, "Oh, syrup." Oh, okay. So like, I feel better about myself some of those times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife, my friends, we caught on to all her words as we were like dating, got kind of going up. So it was like, they'd make her say words. "Hey, Julie, say this." And she'd say it, but didn't know we were kind of like, poking her a little bit. So now she knows, obviously, but she's got quite a few. Like, I don't know, orange. Like, orange is a good one. Foreign, forest. Like a lot of those O words. Says Tyrannosaurus Rex, really funny. Like married. I don't know. She's got a lot of weird ones, but she's tried to keep a little bit of Jersey. Tried not to lose her whole accent, but a lot of it's gone. So, back to real quick. So, what's a November look like in New York? Obviously out here, you're like, like you said, you got these beautiful days.
Yeah.
Not like that.
No, God, no. I remember one, I used to try to do where on the Friday after Thanksgiving would be like, hey, I'm going to go like, do some sort of activity or whatever it is. And so one year, like a friend of mine was like, "Hey, why don't we golf?" And I was like, "Yeah, great idea." And this was like 3 weeks beforehand. So we book our tea time and all that kind of stuff. Well, that Friday after Thanksgiving, it was 22 degrees. Like the ground was frozen. We went and did it anyway, but like
how fast were those greens?
It was very fast. Which I was like, "Oh, look at how far I drive the ball," and the ball just kept rolling,
going across the ice.
And so there are, it's hit or miss, but like typical November in New York, it is not sit outside and watch football weather.
Yeah.
I've been to, and granted it was New England, but like my wife and I went to a Patriots game over Thanksgiving one year. And it was the worst possible conditions because it was so cold, but it wasn't snowing. It was raining because of like the atmospheric, God knows what. So we're sitting outside soaking wet because we prepared for snow. We had all of this cold weather gear. We were not prepared for being just completely soaked head to toe.
Yeah.
And by halftime, we were like, we cannot physically stand here or be here any longer because like we're going to die of frostbite.
Did we not have this conversation? Because we went to Bills Eagles in Buffalo in December and had the exact same experience. Where all the season ticket holders around us are like top 3 worst weather games we've ever been to.
Yeah.
32 degrees and rain, and it was miserable and
awful.
Windy, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And the Bills lost too, so it sucked.
Yeah. And we had been invited to go to like this big pregame tailgate in like the practice bubble, next to the stadium through a friend of mine. And of course, like where we parked was on the literal opposite end of the entire stadium.
Yeah.
So we had to walk basically like
So you're
through
soaked.
the stadium, whatever it is. We get to this bubble. We are soaking wet. We are freezing. We are both in the bathroom, like with our socks and clothes, like using the hand blower to try and dry them.
Yeah.
Because we were like, we're never going to even make it to the game at this point.
Yeah.
Awful. So,
We don't have that much out here.
yeah, no. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
so, when I, the one of the funniest things for me is there's probably like 3 days a year I get a phone call from either my brother or my dad or my mom or whatever it is back on the East Coast being like, "Hey, I looked at the weather and like it's 55 and raining in San Diego and it's 62 and partly cloudy here in New York. So haha, and I'm like,
Yeah, call
cool.
me tomorrow.
Yeah, right. So it's 3 times a year.
Right,
And that's kind of like indicative of just, how spoiled we are to live here and how much, we love it is that, there's no such thing as outdoor November sitting in your shorts watching football outside in New York.
Yeah, I remember going like in Charger games, November, my folks had season tickets, so we used to go to a lot of games at Qualcomm, and it was they had their seats, right? But when you're looking at there, you're like, okay, I need a seat that's going to be in the shade at some point.
Right.
And it's November because you're like, if you're on this side of the stadium, dude, you're getting fried. Yeah. Even a 1 o'clock game on, November 15th, you're like, still got to watch out for it. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
okay. So you think you're ever going back to New York?
I mean,
Full time?
No,
Okay.
no. Sorry, Mom. No, not going to happen.
She knows.
She does at this point. I think the whole family thought, okay, like they'll go out there for a couple years and then they'll come back. Now, ever since, because they had never even been to San Diego either. So now, like that they come visit, or whether it's my dad and stepmom or my mom or what, they get here and they'll come over the winter months and they're like, oh yeah, no, we're like this is nice. Like
see
we're,
that.
yeah. So like they get it at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into your new project coming up here, since we're talking about food a little bit, San Diego, what does San Diego have that New York does not have? Or beats it at least in the food scene.
Say, so the New Yorker in me wants to be like, nothing beats, Mexican food.
Yeah.
I mean,
Taco Bell in New York, right?
not that bad, but definitely, more gringo, Mexican food, right? Like it's not, it's the kind of places where they'll put like California burrito on the menu, but it's like some random concoction. Like it's not a real California burrito.
Yep.
So we have that going for us here, for sure. I'm a seafood eater. Okay. So, granted New York's also, on the water. And so, but it's a different style, different type of, you get like Atlantic salmon or whatever it is, or, fish and chips, you get cod and whatever, but like the fish out here is just fantastic. And, like the mahi-mahi, proximity to Hawaii and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Do you have some good go-to fish spots, seafood spots rather?
I tend to make most of it because I'm the only
only
seafood eater in my family.
Yeah.
So, I'll typically, go like if I'm making dinner, like I'll go to Sprouts, get like some steak for the family, and then they have a really good black garlic marinated salmon. And so I'll get myself a piece of that and I'll throw that on the grill with the steak that I'm making for everybody else. And but I do like Fish 101 is a good place that I've been to quite a few times.
Yeah, Fish 101 solid.
Yeah.
They got a few. Where's the Cardiff, Lucadia? Is there a third one? Or is it just those two?
I think it's just the two.
The two?
I don't know. I've only been to, I think, the Lucadia one.
Okay. All right. So you made your way out here. Let's we'll get into a few other questions and a few other things that you're into. Baseball cards. Cassie said you're into baseball cards. We'll get into that later. But I want to talk about your new project, I guess it is. So has to do with baseball, has to do with it's kind of geared towards kids. Adults could chime in as well, but fill us in. Live from the Dugout, and it's dropping June 3rd. So this is coming out June 4th. So it's going to be out first episode. But yeah, give us a rundown on that, how you got into that, kind of what's it all about. I'll read your LinkedIn post real quick, and then you can fill it in from there. So this is from Jeff's LinkedIn. So what I've been building on the side for the past 9 years is finally ready to share. It's called Live from the Dugout. Every week, a retired Major League Baseball player shows up to tell the truth about what the game actually teaches them, the slump, the coach who almost broke them, what they wish someone had said to them at 12. If you ever sat in a parking lot after practice or a game trying to figure out the right way to say on the ride home, this is for you. This is not a clinic, not a meet and greet, a real conversation. They launch June 3rd with Lorenzo Cain, 2014 ALCS MVP, 2015 World Series champ. And they also have a bunch of other people we'll get into here in a little bit. But yeah, sounds awesome. Give us the rundown, kind of how it came about. And obviously we know when it's starting. So
yeah. So, like you guys, like as a sports parent, it's the hardest part for me is when my kids struggle. And as much as I try to be there and be, to reassure them and tell them, all the things that, you would hope resonate, like, hey, don't be so hard on yourself. Hey, it's only one game. It's only one this. You win and lose as a team. Like all the cliche things, as my kids have gotten older, I mean, especially my older, kid who plays competitive travel ball, those statements are kind of met with the rolling eyes and the like,
what do you know, Dad?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what cool. Thanks for telling me to let it go. Yeah. But like you didn't experience what I just did, or at least in his eyes, I didn't. And I don't have the resume to back that up, to be like, hey, take it from me, guy who never played past high school ball. This is what's important. And so I wanted to come up with a way to kind of tell those stories and to really think and focus on, how, and baseball is the example, and then kind of what we started with and where we're going with it. But it applies to so many different sports and different things. Is it's never an easy path, and it's never, there's failure along the way, and there's failure for professional athletes who have been there, who have won championships. Like the struggle, as they say, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
And those guys, and what sets apart somebody who made it to the big leagues and other things, is they found a way to get through it, get past it, to, all of that. And so that's kind of the foundation of where this idea came from, which is there's so many, youth sports is everywhere. We see examples of great coaches, great, kids who are learning the right way and all of these things. And you see the opposite. Even this weekend, you guys may have seen the video clip of an 11-year-old kid who
throwing at
the opposing team's dugout.
Yeah.
What did he do? I didn't see that one.
He's on the mound. He turns as if like he's about to pitch, but he steps towards the third base dugout and he throws the ball at the dugout of the opposing team.
All right.
And it's because his dad was the coach, and his dad told him to do it.
Okay.
Because there was some sort of beef and, whatever, and frustration.
Yeah.
So fast forward, the dad is now banned from baseball, any sort of youth sport baseball. And the
As
kid
he
got a
should be.
5-year suspension.
Oh, wow.
Which for
It's
an
his
11-year-old,
baseball career.
his baseball career is over.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is a little unfortunate. Like, I know my kid who's 11, if I was like, hey, do this, I don't know if he has it to say, hey, dad, that's wrong. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm also his coach. And
Yeah.
so like, I think it's a little tough on the kid, but that's a whole nother story. So the challenge is like, how do you teach these, kids not just the right way of doing things, but how they get out of their own heads and overcome this. And so, my business partner and I, who, we started these conversations, 9-10 months ago to say like, how do we do this and build it? Reached out to Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association and said, look, you guys have the relationships with these players. Here's our idea and what we're trying to do. We want to tell this story that nobody else is telling, right? Like retired MLB players, like they'll talk about like their careers and, hey,
accolades
like
and
accolades and like, hey, here's my, the best moment I ever had. Like, I remember the feeling of, hitting this home run or that. And like, those are great stories. But what they're not doing is having these conversations where they're talking about like, hey, I was going to quit at this moment. And here's the only reason why I didn't. And what sets what we're doing apart is it's me interviewing these athletes, but there's also the kid component or kid and parent component where they're, when they're watching live, they can actually raise their hand and say, hey, I have a question. I want to ask Lorenzo Cain, Whit Merrifield, Steve Finley, any one of the athletes that we have, and say, like, I want to ask them about something specific, whether it's from their career or a situation that they themselves are dealing with, and they're looking for guidance. Because my ultimate hope is, having my own kid watch this, is if he can ask a question or whatever it is and get the answer of, hey, don't be so hard on yourself. I mean, ultimately, like, even though it would be a kick to the ego, it is if he says,
he's gonna have to admit you're right.
Right. Well, but he'll never do that. But even if he just is like, what, that's good advice.
Yeah.
And like, it's just oblivious to the fact that that's what I've been telling him all this time.
Yeah.
But if he just says, hey, you know what? That's good advice. Like, I feel better about myself now.
Yeah.
So the next time he has a rough game or makes an error or whatever it is, I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
remember, like, this, here's how you overcome it. Like, you don't have to be perfect. Your teammates don't expect perfect, all of those things. And he can get out of that mental funk a little bit easier.
Yeah, there's so much pressure on kids right now. Like I was, when we were growing up, like we said, it's rec soccer, rec baseball.
Yeah.
You have your mom coaching, your dad coaching, all that kind of stuff. And that still exists in some capacity. But the next level is just competitive, and it's become this huge business with, soccer is huge, a lot of mergers, and like I could just see it just building and building, and it kind of becomes a lot more about little bit of money, you know, like, I mean, and the kids
A
are
little
just
bit of money.
a lot bit of money. Yeah. I don't know how much we're paying for this stuff, but in every sport too, you know, our main ones are soccer. You guys have baseball, but I'm sure other sports are doing the same thing. And so it's just like, you know, my boy plays soccer pretty much 6-7 days a week, you know. I mean, he loves it, but still, like we didn't, it was like go to practice, go play a Saturday game. We didn't have tournaments. So I'm just interested to see how all that plays out as far as you know, just going forward. But this kind of stuff is definitely going to help, you know, the kids in that capacity. So when you are, so as you and your buddy had the idea behind it, how long is this taking you to build? Obviously you got to build these relationships. So you said you're the, kind of teamed up with MLB, the Alumni Association, and did they feeding you these, or you're kind of hand picking? Is it San Diego based, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So the goal is a cross section, you know, of different athletes from, you know, even some different generations as well. And also the random story. Like, so for example, I think in like 2 weeks we have Danny Mantle, Mickey Mantle's son. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about it, and he does a lot of these conversations, but he talks about, you know, his dad and whatever it is. He's going to actually spend a lot of time talking to us about the fact, and I'm going to, you know, spoiler alert here. His dad basically told his kids, you don't need to play baseball. The pressure is already too big and too great. And on top of that, the pressure to be Mickey Mantle.
Good luck there.
You know, right. Like, and so he was basically trying to get his kids to not follow in his footsteps because he was fearful of the pressure and the expectations and all of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, that's a very interesting conversation where we're also going to be talking in probably, I think, a month with Brett Boone, who is a second generation MLB player and has a kid who's in the minors right now.
Oh, does he really?
So is about to become the third. Well, when he makes it to the bigs, will be the first third generation family, you know, in Major League history. And so that's a completely different. So here's a family of baseball, and you know, so it's
encouraging
now
that too,
right?
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, we're talking to Brett Boone, like, hey, what is it? What have you told your own kid that A, nobody ever told you growing up, and B, what would you tell kids today, and all of those things. And so that's the goal of this, is to have those different perspectives. You know, across the board. And so some of it's, you know, regional, right? So Steve Finley, who's here in San Diego, he coaches the
Saints?
The Saints, in Rancho Santa Fe. And so like my son Alex has played against his team and whatever it is. And so he's going to offer a very different perspective because not only did he play Major League Baseball and all of that, but he is now a coach of a youth baseball team.
Yeah.
So hey, what is it that you're doing and that what you're looking to bring to your kids and your teams that, you know, is different from, you know, daddy ball or different from just the other, you know, a general coach who never lived it, but is trying to almost like recreate that through, you know, the kids and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a variety of topics, of speakers, you know, across the board. I was told directly by my business partner, I cannot make everything about the Mets.
You don't have a Met on the list yet.
Which is
We don't have a Met on the list yet.
I
No,
didn't see that.
it is in the works, but this was intentional for me because I didn't want it to be, you know, too, you know, me.
Homery.
But at the same time, the irony is that the first one, which is, well, by the time you're watching this, would have been yesterday or whatever it is, of Lorenzo Cain, won the 2015 World Series against the Mets, where he was just
Dominant.
We could not get that guy off the bases.
Yep.
And so, of course, like my business partner's like, you cannot spend the 40 minutes talking about how he has wronged you personally. And so we'll see how much of that I get in there.
So you got Lorenzo Cain, Whit Merrifield, Danny Mantle. These are, I don't know if these are all in order, but these are the first lineups of the show. Brett Boone, Steve Finley, and Fred Lynn. I think that's all we had right there. But coming up for those 6 shows. So what's the layout? You mentioned like people or kids can ask questions live. Like, what's the format? I was looking at your website a little bit. It seems like it's a little different, but what, you know, how are they coming on live? Are you guys doing it Zoom? All that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. So there's kind of two components to it. One is the live session, right? That's where obviously you can show up, you can, raise your hand, either ask, we'll unmute you and let you, introduce yourself, ask the question, or if you put it in the chat, you don't want to go on camera, that's fine. And so that's the real value for a lot of, what we're trying to build is like the opportunity for kids to have that conversation. But then we will put all the episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube channel, on our website. So even if you miss the live version and you're still like, hey, I'm really interested to hear what Lorenzo Cain had to say about this, because there is a topic or a theme for each episode. So for example, Lorenzo Cain didn't pick up a baseball until he was 15 years old. He has a very different story than my kid who, picked up a baseball at 5 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, also have a very different story in that my kid will never be a World Series champion, Major League Baseball All-Star, and all those things. Sorry, Alex. But, and so it's like that dual format, is the live session is where you can engage and it's interactive. And then, but everything is going to be available for people to listen to and watch. And, there'll be some topics that are really relevant for people and some that you're like, I may not need to necessarily listen to that one, or that doesn't need to be the first priority, but that's our goal, is diverse lineup, diverse topics, and then kind of put it out there. And so you can, consume it however and whenever you need.
And so if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, I want my kid to listen. Maybe he's got a few questions. How are they going to where are they going to find the live? Obviously the playback's probably going to be all the, podcast, Spotify, Apple, all those kind of things. But if they do want to tune in live, where should they go hit up?
Yeah. So we do limit the number of people who can be in the live session because we want it to be intimate, conversational, and things of that nature. Yeah. So even though tickets are free, you do need to essentially reserve a seat. So you can go to our website, livefromthedugout.com. There's a schedule on there, the calendar for each date and time and speaker. You can reserve a seat, and that will send you a link to our back-end platform, which will give you access to show up for the live event and participate and ask your questions.
Right.
Livefromthedugout.com. You guys also have Instagram.
We do.
Follow them over there.
Yep. Instagram, live from the dugout.
Okay. Go check all that out. Anything else we missed on the podcast? Anything else we need to dive into?
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to definitely tune in. And it's drop-in, is it weekly then? So it's going to be every Wednesday,
week.
Every week, something like that? Or
the day it will change and fluctuate because we're basing on scheduling with the athletes themselves, which it is definitely the hardest part of all of this is getting them to commit and find the time. But what we've basically framed this as, it will be either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday will be the live event. Just knowing that, weekends are already challenging in our schedules.
Yeah, right.
It would only add to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you going to be the main personality, or are you and your partner?
It'll be me.
Nice.
So I'm sorry to everybody who's going to.
No, you're good.
It will be me to start, and certainly in the beginning, like my background and my, love for baseball and, my degree is in sports marketing. So like I have that, kind of background, and my business partner, while, brilliant and all of those things, is not the baseball fan that I am. And so this
doesn't have the questions and stuff you do. And all that stuff.
And, just the my passion for the sport, like, is so deep as you know. And so, like I wasn't even going to let him say that he was going to,
I got the keys of the
so,
star.
Now that also comes with a lot of responsibility in the sense of like, I have to be available to do this. And like, it's summer and we're going to go away for a family trip. And so I'm like, hey, family, you all have to understand that for that, hour every week, like I need, like I have to do like, and so that's fine for today, eventually down the road, 6 months, a year from now, and it's, millions of viewers and whatever it is, like we'll hire you, Cassidy, and you can come in and you can do it.
I'll team up with you anytime.
Perfect.
But for now, it's Jeff.
For now, it's me.
Okay. So passion for baseball, growing up, all that kind of stuff. Growing up in New York, you go to a bunch of games out there and stuff. And more importantly, how do you choose between Mets and Yankees? I mean, it's kind of like, it's a big thing.
Especially Long Island, too. That's kind of one of those spots where you can choose either, right?
Well,
Or
Long
no?
Island is typically more Mets.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Because Shea Stadium, it is, it's in Queens, which is, depending on how you want to look at it, technically on Long Island.
Got it. Okay.
Much closer, for me to go to games. And so being a Mets fan, the Yankees were the easy choice. My brother's a Yankees fan. He's 2 years older than I am. I will say he was a Mets fan. And then, it's like, hey, look, this other team is winning championships and the Mets are going to give you a lifetime of pain. So he, was like, oh yeah, no, Yankees.
Yeah.
And so, but for me, it was just, they were close by. I mean, we went to games, senior cut day of high school. Like I went to, a Mets game. Like, I remember there was also the opening day of baseball season. I think it was my senior year of high school also. I cut school, went to the game, and it was a 14 inning, like 1-0 game. And, I didn't come home nearly in time of when I was supposed to be, but like, it's just,
Yeah.
there was something about going to Shea.
Yeah. Have you been to a Mets game? Have they played in Petco?
They play in Petco this weekend.
Okay. Are you going?
Yeah, we'll go to a game
All
for
right,
sure.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just wanting, let me know how it goes. I want to, like, when his dumb team shows up, the Giants are in town, or a lot of other, a lot of people travel here. So, when the Padres were not that good, now they're in the middle somewhere, but more than half the stadium was the other fans.
There will be a good contingent of Mets fans.
Yeah.
Especially because it's a weekend. School is almost out on the
Or out
East
for some
Coast or
people,
out.
yeah.
So, and so there'll be a good contingent of Mets fans there.
take
for
a trip
sure.
to Shea or take a trip to Peck or San Diego. Why not?
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. This season is also Mets in San Diego and also Yankees in San Diego in September. Because my mother-in-law is taking the kids to that. So
You go Yankees. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there'll be a bunch
she's
of
a Yankee
Yankees
fan.
Oh, she's a Yankees fan.
She grew up in New York also.
Okay, that makes sense. Then. That makes sense. Okay, so back to, I lost my train of thought here. We're going to get into Cassie mentioned in the question sports cards, so I want to get into that in a sec.
Okay.
Let me see if I had anything else about the Mets. Oh no, that's what I was going to say. Last week we had our buddy on. He's a Mets fan as well, but he at one point designed some little logo that was in Shea Stadium for Edwin Diaz. Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He did the Edwin Diaz. It said Diaz on the front, but it was in the shape of a trumpet.
Oh,
And that was like his design.
Yeah.
It was pretty rad.
I thought that was cool.
that's awesome.
All right. So, are you a baseball card collector?
I am a baseball card and just general memorabilia collector. Yes, I am.
How'd you get into that? I mean, we all kind of got into that when we
As
were
kids, but
8 and 10. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I just remember like, I should have kept it, but I think it was my uncle used to bring me out to, for my birthday, go to Toys R Us, buy whatever. Right. So I think it was 1990. I must've been 8, maybe 9, somewhere in there. Anyways, I wanted to get baseball cards, right? The kids love the baseball cards, but I didn't want to open them. So I got like a 1989 Don Russ box of cards. I was like, I'm going to save these forever and they're going to be worth a lot of money. I never opened them, never looked at them. Then, neighborhood kids wanted to trade because they knew some of the cards in there. So I traded like 2 cards. Now it's not a full set and, ended up getting rid of it and getting rid of all my other cards. I have now a box, I don't know, probably 100 cards or so, but baseball cards were big. Now they're back again.
Yeah.
Now we actually have money where we could buy this stuff. So how'd you get into collecting?
That's the dangerous part, right? I could spend a lot of money on baseball cards.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I was into baseball cards, but not nearly the way I am now. But then I really got into memorabilia as I was in my 20s and had a job and, money where I could, do certain things. And I became friends with this guy who worked at it's a company called Steiner Sports, which was like the biggest sports memorabilia company, on the East Coast. Like they had the partnerships with all the big teams, all the big players. And, as our friendship, we would talk often. He's a big Mets fan. And so we would go to games and hang out. And, it all kind of started one day where I was like, the Mets won the 2005 NL East championship. And so I'm at the game with him and whatever it is. And I was like, man, I wish I could get something from this game to kind of, as a memory. And he was like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, what can I get?
What do you got?
I don't know the limits of whatever it is. And so he was like, give me a couple days and I'll come back to you. A couple days go by and he was like, hey, do you want second base?
That's rad.
And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, no, second base. That was like on the field when they clinched. And I'm like, yeah, I want second base. I'm like,
Second
but
base?
I'm like, I really want Jose Reyes, the Mets shortstop. I want him to sign it. And he was like, yeah, cool, done.
Rad.
And I'm like, all right. So I have in my office at home, like hanging up like in this big, box thing, second base, which Jose Reyes wrote to Jeff, 2005 NL East champs, and signed it. A copy of the lineup card from that day, my ticket from the game, dirt from the field. And so that's what kind of like started me on
Got the
that
whole package.
Yeah. And so then I was like, whoa, it's like a little bit of an addiction.
started
I'm
way
like,
high up here.
What can I do next? And, so then it was, more of just like photographs that were signed. And so I went into like the 1980 US Miracle on Ice team, like, cause I'm a big hockey guy as well. So I have that signed by every member of the team.
Right.
I have the very typical, like every Met fan needs to have Mookie Wilson, Bill Buckner, ball going through his legs, autographed by both of those guys.
Poor Bill Buckner has to sign a photo of him.
And it's so interesting because I've met Mookie Wilson and I've talked to him about this. Bill Buckner passed away a few years ago, but Mookie Wilson, he's like the friendship that he built with Bill Buckner, who became, up until the Red Sox actually won a World Series in 2004 or something like that. Bill Buckner was a pariah in Boston, and then they win the World Series, and now everyone forgives him, and whatever it is. But he and Mookie Wilson, like, always, like, they are intertwined forever, right? And they built such a strong friendship. So again, talk about like building friendship off failures, so I started just doing more of that, and then when for my wedding present from my wife, she got me. So we went to, and this is kind of like the moment where I was like, yeah, I'm going to marry this girl. When I was living in New York, I worked at Google at the time. I was building like the sports and entertainment division, at Google. And so the NFL was one of my clients. And I had said to like my guy at the NFL, like early on in the year, I'm like, hey, by the way, if the Giants go to a Super Bowl, you have to take me. And of course we were like, yeah, whatever. And so fast forward, the Giants, after a 9-7 season, go to the Super Bowl. And I had told my best friend, who I had season tickets for the Giants with, like, hey, if the Giants go to the Super Bowl and I get this, like, you can come with me. So I call my friend. I'm like, hey, Keith, I got the tickets. You want to go? And he was like, nah, I don't want to go. And I'm like, all right. And so meanwhile, my girlfriend at the time when I was told her about the relationship with the NFL, was like, well, if you get to go to a Super Bowl and it's the Patriots, I get to go. And I'm like, of course. Like, I'm making all of these agreements, not expecting it to be Patriots and the Giants in the Super Bowl. So when my best friend says, hey, I don't want to go, like, I turn to her and I'm like, do you want to go? And she's like, hell yeah.
For sure.
Right? Like, drops everything, whatever it is. We go out to Arizona. Turned out that my cousin, who I had never met, was the nutritionist for the Giants.
Okay.
So I called her and she was like, hey, come out to the Giants team hotel like the day before the Super Bowl. So we go out to the team hotel. We're sitting outside having lunch. The doors open. The whole team like comes out of a meeting like outside, and she's introducing me to all, like, oh, this is so-and-so. And this I'm like, oh my God. Like
Jeff's head exploded.
This is not reality. Meanwhile, we're going to all these like NFL parties because I'm there as a guest of the NFL. Our seats are on the 50-yard line, like 10 rows up. I'm literally sitting next to Brian Cashman, the GM of the Yankees.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, first of all, like, screw you guys. But like, it's just this
good to see you.
but like, look where I'm rolling.
Yeah.
And so the Giants win the championship, win the Super Bowl, and my girlfriend, now wife, was just so happy for me. And like, she could have easily been the opposite and been like, I spent this money and time and came out here and like, I'm bitter and whatever. But she was just genuinely like,
Patriots were heavy favorites.
Right.
Like,
they were undefeated at that point,
So
so she was just enjoyed my excitement of it. And so like at that moment I was like, all right, like I can marry you.
That's right.
and
Is that
so
game the helmet catch?
That was the helmet catch.
Yeah. Okay.
And so for my wedding gift, she got me a helmet, a Giants helmet that was signed by the entire team.
Oh, wow.
You know, so she had reached out to the guy that I knew and been like, hey, I want to get him this. And so
That's rad.
I have a bunch of other things. I have stadium seats from Shea Stadium and Giant Stadium when they were tearing them down.
Yeah.
So that's out
I
my
might
office.
have to do that because my Braden's been pushing me to get Buffalo Bill from Highmark.
From Highmark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like $600, but
Yep.
might be worth it.
My folks have seats from Qualcomm. So.
Oh, yeah.
If it makes you feel better, I think I probably paid close to that amount like 20 years ago. So
Okay.
like
Oh, so it's not
inflation
that bad.
hasn't hit
Yeah.
the seats yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, just collecting. And so that's also what then, you know, as my kids have gotten older and they're, you know, they don't have the money because
Yeah.
I'm not giving it to them to buy any of like,
Yeah.
you know, the really nice memorabilia. Although my older son, Alex, has, you know, for every birthday and, you know, all things like is now
That's what he's
getting.
asking for.
Yeah. I mean, he has like an autographed Jackson Merrill jersey.
Oh, right.
You know, he's a Padres fan. So,
All right, I like
Can't
it.
hold
you know,
it
so
against
he's got a lot of those things, but we've, you know, me and my boys have gotten into, you know, baseball cards again. And so, you know, we collect a lot of them. You know, I've definitely tried to encourage them to spend less on just opening packs and being disappointed with, you know, and
makes
saying,
Especially when
Yeah.
every card is a double. It drives me crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, if you're going to spend $100 on a couple of boxes, like you're better off like being like, who is there a player that I really like that I'm interested, you know, or that I think is going to be really good, and like go and get
that
the
one.
card you want, because we also have boxes and boxes of base cards that we want to get them out of the house. We want to get
Same here.
that they're not worth anything.
Bonfire.
So yeah. So, you know, doing all of that with them is a lot of fun, and it's just, you know, we have friends that are really into it. So like it's just a great bonding experience.
Did they have some good polls? Have they had some good
They
stuff?
do. My older son Alex, we were actually at our friend's house who they're really big into cards, and you know we were doing this was like 2 years ago, like around Christmas time, and like you know we put all the packs in the middle, and the kids are literally just like you know like you know
Random.
like a random like
yeah.
you know it's your turn, you pick any pack and you know whatever it is and you pull, and he got a printing plate for an Albert Pujols 1-of-1 autographed, you know,
that's
whatever
rad.
it is. And he was like
That's epic.
ecstatic, which was like, it was, you know, funny because it was the first time he ever even saw what a printing plate was. And for
Are they metal or plastic?
they're metal.
Oh, they're metal, okay.
Yeah. And so, you know, to have it be a 1-of-1, which obviously like you can only have one,
yeah.
you know, and then it's you know, like, and it's a future Hall of Famer,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like that was
that's
a
epic.
big pull for them. And then since then they've had some other ones, like, I mean, again, if it's a Padre or whatever it is, and, you know, it's cool, but then I will go and I'll buy like the cards I want and show them, and like they get really excited about those
That's
cards
right.
too.
Are there some cool, good card shops up this way?
Yeah, so there's Ross Cards, which
Yep.
is kind of like the place.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they just moved over into the Forum.
Yep.
They had to get a bigger spot.
How
huh?
to get a bigger spot?
Yeah,
Listen,
the other spot was
and the other spot, like parking was just brutal.
Nightmare.
yeah, that
Yeah.
place.
You
is
know, and so we'll go to Ross Cards, you know, quite a bit. We'll do some online, you know, stuff as well. We'll join a break every once in a while. There's also the Honey Hole up in Escondido.
Okay.
And Temecula. That's the one I was just telling you about.
yeah,
the
got
one
it.
at Temecula.
Nice.
Which you can grab a beer while your kid's going to Honey Hole.
okay.
Oh.
Or
Oh, in the little brewery area
Yeah,
right
the
there?
brewery area
Okay.
is right there, and
I didn't know
and,
that.
Send
All
the
right.
kids to the card shop.
Sweet.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
So what's the top memorabilia that you have? Is it something we've already mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just, you know, if I'm not looking at dollar value, but
Yeah.
I'm just talking about like sentimental and whatever it is. I mean, I think that the Giants autographed helmet
Yeah.
is just because it's from my wife. It's because we went to the game.
And nobody goes
You
to the
know,
Super Bowl.
like yeah,
Like not very many people, even if your team is there, get the opportunity to go to the Super
Right.
Bowl and watch the game. So,
especially like at cost, basically, because the NFL. I mean, like, you know, my guy was able to get us but you know, so I had to pay for the tickets to the actual Super Bowl. That was the deal he made with me.
yeah,
$700, which
Not bad.
is not right.
Yeah,
Nothing. Like if you want to go to a Super Bowl, you know, next year, and you just want to buy a ticket as a fan, like you're spending like, you know, 10x that.
Yeah.
So to be able to say I went to a Super Bowl like
With
at
for your
face
team,
value,
which is
Yeah.
to see my team and they win in this dramatic. I mean, like you can't script it any better than that. So that piece definitely has a whole lot of meaning for me.
Yeah. Last one on the trading stuff. So you had, I saw in one of your YouTubes, you had, the stadium pictures in the back, and you had to sign a soccer ball. Who was it signed by?
That was signed by Leo Messi.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in my day job of not doing, baseball podcasts and collecting things and all those
you have
things.
that one of those too?
It's
and
amazing.
Umpiring
And umpiring,
volunteering for leagues.
The Southern California, sunshine tax is real. So, I gotta pay for it somehow. But I'm a fractional CMO marketer. And so I work with a lot of different companies. And, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, had the opportunity to work with a company called MGO Global, which was they basically built like the Leo Messi line of apparel. One of the co-founders is Ginny Hilfiger, Tommy Hilfiger's sister, and so she was the designer behind a lot of Tommy Hilfiger stuff. She designed all of the Leo Messi stuff. So when I started working with them, and I went to meet them at their office down in South Florida, they had that some soccer balls out there, that he had signed. And so they were like, hey, do you want one of these? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Absolutely.
That's rad.
And then, they had this like red jacket, which I was like, oh, that's cool. It's almost like a scuba gear material. Like it's really incredibly comfortable. And I was like, oh, what's this? And they're like, oh, and they showed me a picture of like Leo Messi wearing it during a photo shoot. And I was like, oh, this is just like that one. They're like, no, that is that one. And I'm like, oh, they're like, do you want it? I'm like, yeah, I do. Now I have washed it. So like, it's not that I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to wear this forever.
It doesn't still smell like him.
It does not. I know. I was like,
Still smells like mess.
yep. So, but I have that. And of course, like I put it on and my wife was like, look better on Leo. And I'm like, yeah. It took every ounce of my strength not to come back with a retort of like, well, so that looked better on so. But yeah, so I have that as well.
That's very nice. And then we got one last question. It's going to be live from the dugout. But anything else we need to cover before we sign off?
No.
Cassie, what do you got?
No, Jeff's been a big part of our league for a really long time. Sponsorship director. Jeff's emails are maybe the most just perfectly put emails on the planet with just enough jokes that people actually read it. The umpires, he's big in our league. And so just shout out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate everything you do.
I take the email game very seriously. And as a Long Islander, anytime I have an opportunity to take the melodies and lyrics of a Billy Joel song and turn it into something else, I will gladly do that. Like if I had to go back and rewrite my wedding vows, it definitely would just be like a Billy Joel song with different, lyrics to it.
Yeah,
so
I had a little shout out to Journey in mine. So
there you go.
All right. So livefromthedugout.com. Go check that out. And then Instagram is Live from the Dugout. Go check that out on Instagram. So last question, if you could sit down with any player, anybody for Live in the Dugout, maybe you already have them on, but who would it be? Who are we searching for?
It's got to be a Met.
Yeah. It does just because of, but it's hard to answer because if it was just because of my own fandom and like I just want to, nerd out with someone, that's a very different answer than the, like here we're here for the kids and like this is to tell the kids.
Let's
the
go
story,
your fandom one then. Let's get that answer.
Yeah, but I think the perfect combination of the two is Mike Piazza.
Oh yeah,
because here's a guy who was drafted very late in the draft, only as a favor to his dad, who was friends with Tommy Lasorda. And so again, it's this story of like, you're not a first round pick. You're not expected to be anything. Mm-hmm. And he becomes the greatest hitting catcher of all time.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself, like here's a guy who had no pressure, other than the pressure of like, hey, you got drafted as a favor to your dad. Like, don't disappoint your father, which I get, from that perspective. But like, you're not a first round pick who everyone's like going to be like, oh, this guy's a bust. He was a first round pick.
Yeah. You're
a late round pick. No one's expecting a lot from you.
Yeah, 100%.
And he was able to turn that into, the greatest career for a catcher that's almost ever lived. So That I think would be
Yeah, I think that meshes well.
the conversation I would really
It's a
love
character
to have.
too.
Yeah.
Mike Piazza's a character.
Yeah. It's just, I think he's too busy for me.
I don't know. They might be able to rope him in.
We'll
if anybody
see.
knows
Yeah,
Mike
if
Piazza,
know Mike,
reach out.
Yep. I'll
get
travel
him
to
on.
him. I'll do whatever he
Whatever you
wants.
need, yep.
Yep.
If you want red gummy bears, I'll whatever your rider is, I'll hook you up.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'll eat the rest of them. Just keep the reds. All right. Well, cool. Go check them out. Drop in this by the time this drops on Thursday. First episode of Live from the Dugout will be out. So go check that out. And thanks for hopping on, Jeff. Appreciate
My pleasure.
it. And we'll
Thanks for having me.
catch you guys all next week. Adios.